29%. I trust that you got the other.
Like that's it.
You recording.
Huh?
Testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
We could hear you loud and clear.
Make sure you like just. Woo!
Hey!
Don't stop.
What happened to no
So
commentary?
it's 8 on the dot, so we're gonna begin. Hey everyone.
Hello.
Yo!
Welcome to our Yandere Writing Tips panel. My name is Julie.
And I'm Kay. Just take the mic.
Okay. A little more about us is that we are male Yandere enthusiasts as well as aspiring writers. We have a blog on Tumblr called That Yandere Critic, where we talk about our criteria for Yanderes, Yandere reviews, and the occasional memes here and there. We also cover female Yanderes, but we mostly cover male Yanderes in depth. So just as a note, some things may sound like gender bias towards male Yanderes, but we did try to do our best to make sure everything is gender neutral in the end. So another thing is we will not be answering questions during the lecture because of the time, but you guys are really welcome to ask us questions by the end of our lecture. Yeah.
So this is our blog. Everything we're saying today is up on our blog, and we highly recommend using our master list before asking us a question saying, hey, did you do this? We probably did. Also, we're recording this event, and we'll be posting it on both our blog and YouTube. That being said, what's up Tumblr, YouTube, and Reddit? Yeah, we saw Reddit. Shout out to Penguin with a Pen. I told you I'm going to record it for you. And also, what's up JMR 626?
That's me, actually.
Oh!
Yeah, thank you for coming to us instead of the wall. Also, our PowerPoint will also be posted up on our blog. And yeah, let's.
It was there. I couldn't find the bride, so.
Okay. Anyways, so.
Okay. So before we actually talk about Yanderes, let's talk about the definitions of a Yandere. While everyone thinks they know what a Yandere is, no one can actually agree what a Yandere is. While everyone points to a using fandom, we would like to ask, which one? There's multiple definitions from every source when you try to Google what a Yandere actually is. For example, let's go down the list. So, in this definition, Yandere, girls are what one would call crazy girls. No, I don't mean like dorky or stunt-loving girls. I mean the batshit, psychotic, jealous bitch that'll murder your entire family and your dog just to stay with you. Literally.
Yeah.
Another definition. Yandere is a Japanese term for a person who is initially very loving and gentle to someone, at least very innocent, before their devotion becomes destructive in nature, often through violence and brutality. The term is derived from words yanderu, meaning a mental or emotional illness, and dure, meaning to show affection. Yandere characters are mentally unstable and are sometimes incredibly deranged and not mentally sane, often using extreme violence and or brutality as an outlet for their emotions. And another definition.
Just keep going here.
Just keep going. So many definitions.
And
Yeah, but by now you guys have pretty much gotten the point. There's so many variations on what people label as a Yandere. And for most of these sites, in this definition for TV tropes right here, anybody can edit this information. We don't know where it's coming from, or who's actually writing this.
yeah, so what is our definition of a yandere? So our definition of a yandere is the minimum requirement of what a yandere is. Yandere is a portmanteau of two Japanese words, yanderu, meaning to be sick, and dure, which is defined as strongly and deeply exhausted, infatuated, moonstruck, head over heels, or love-struck, but in this case used for love-struck. So how is our definition different from all the other ones? While other sources directly define a yandere by specific media sources, We define the word yandere by its bare minimum translation. From there, we try to interpret what a yandere entails, much like the judiciary system. We can all at least agree that yanderes are not just serial killers, murderers, kidnappers, cannibals, or any other sort of criminals. If I were to hold a knife, am I automatically a yandere?
No.
No, of course not. The best way to say it is this. A yandere is not a murderer, but a murderer could be a yandere.
I agreed.
One of the biggest things that we're going to be emphasizing here is to be lovesick. The yandere must hold romantic feelings for their significant other. That being said, we don't consider platonic yanderes to be a thing. And no, we aren't saying asexual characters can be a yandere. From our understanding, some asexuals could hold romantic feelings, just not sexual. There's a difference between romantic feelings and lust. And no, we're not going to hold a debate right here about this. If you want to know why we say this, I direct you to our blog and where we talked about platonic yanderes in depth. This is a writing panel, not a debate panel.
So my turn? All right.
There we go.
All right. So now that we got the definition of what a yandere is, let's go straight into the writing tips. I'm sure some of you guys have some assumptions that we'll be discussing about random yandere cliches, but we really aren't, because realistically, everyone and their grandmother can write a yandere story if they wanted to. For example, let's look at our male yandere bingo game.
I guess I'm talking. Yeah, so these are the common cliches that you'll see in male yandere stories. You can pick a story and make a bingo game. Tell me if you get a 5-way bingo, because sometimes it happens. Okay.
Like for some of them, you got a clickbait yandere.
Which will be explained soon. So
You know, you're mine. Cue yandere snap scene. Okay, the MC has a high EQ but low IQ. You guys know. You guys know. Useless or pathetic MC. So the yandere often kills a love rival, family member, or someone who's wronged the MC. Or the MC is a Virgin Mary or a White Lotus trope, which
will it be explaining soon enough?
yeah,
So
no worries.
pick something common.
Yeah, the story is in a high school, college setting, or the yandere is a position of power. For example, a CEO, a prince, from a wealthy family, etc., you know.
Yeah. And don't think female yanderes are safe from this too.
Yeah. So, so at the end of this panel, our goal is to not have you guys get full bingo, because while having overused tropes isn't bad, like having 1 or 2 squares, nothing new is being added to the table. Pretty soon, all the yandere stories will be just a static thing and only varying a little bit from their predecessors. Even if it's still the same trope, a lot of different ideas still have yet to be explored. And with our panel, K&I's goal is to help build the foundation for a broader scope when it comes to writing yandere stories. So for female yanderes, we can go through, some of like the scenes that would, have these like typical tropes. For example, if you read some female yandere stories, there's some random Yuri scene. There's a cute yandere girl and plus a large imposing weapon.
She'll say shit like, I never had feelings until I met you. Okay.
Yeah, so making a creepy face.
So, you get the picture.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now we're going to break into some terms that we may or may not say in here. Like, I'm pretty sure some of you guys haven't really heard of these. So, term number 1, clickbait yanderes. Characters that are not actually yanderes, but are portrayed as one due to misconception or misinformation about said character. So, I'm sure you guys already know this, like some random like chick holding a knife, and everyone's like saying, like, oh my god, I love this yandere, but really, she's not a yandere, or like she's a yandere. Okay, it happens. we coined a couple terms. There is the redeem yandere, and we forgot another term, but redeem yandere is a yandere who learns and changes for the better due to their previous actions toward their love interest. So, this is what happens when you do character development. It's a thing. There's another term that we didn't actually add in here, which is enlightened yandere, where they basically get enlightened and learn that, oh shit, what I'm doing is actually kind of bad,
For example, if anybody wants an example, we have one about a male yandere. For example, the guy, for the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, I mean, quick and easy. He eventually learns to let her go, So we don't have possessive or obsessive type yandere. We call them selfless and selfish. A selfless yandere is a yandere who cares more about their SO's feeling. They're supportive, less controlling, and more emotionally mature. While selfish yandere is a yandere who's controlling, overbearing, neglectful of the SO's feeling, and not really emotionally mature. Next, we have realistic yanderes. Realistic yanderes are more realistic depictions of the yandere trope. While these characters would do fictitious actions for the sake of the story, they're more grounded in reality and having to do with issues such as mental illness. And these characters also fall in. So our ideal yandere, once they don't hit it and run, they don't just kill their SO and call it okay, time to move on to the next one, No, they don't do that. Okay, that's our ideal yandere here. While realistic yanderes, they kind of do in that they'll try to get over the SO, they try to move on and learn to love another. Okay, that's the more realistic type. Next we have black belly. It's a Chinese character trope, actually. It is a common term used to describe character personalities in Chinese novels. The literal translation means black stomach, and it usually means that someone is secretly quite evil, sly, manipulative, because you don't know if they're gonna eat you up. Okay, they're not technically yanderes, but sometimes people like to tag them as. They could be a yandere if you write them as such, but they're better more acquainted to the Orasama type in media. Okay, and finally, canon fathers, which are characters that are only there for the purpose of pushing the main couple, the story. They're going to die at the very end. They're just props.
Yeah, there's a lot of yanderes that usually don't end up with the protagonist, but they're just used to bring the protagonist and another chick or another person with the protagonist.
Yeah, so that's kind of in general terms. We do have a lot more definitions on our blog.
Yeah.
It's an actual dictionary on our blog. Let's actually get into writing tips. So,
All right.
Our first writing tips are yandere actions.
Yeah, so yandere actions. First, before we talk about the yandere snap, I want to go over what are yandere actions. Well, first let's establish that yandere actions are actions that display a great amount of physical and emotional affection, as well as the yandere's consideration towards the SO, which stands for significant other. Now that we got that covered, let's talk about the first yandere action, the yandere snap. So, a yandere snap is the yandere's breaking point and their subsequent actions because of it. The typical yandere snap you would see in the media would be killing a love rival or the SO, kidnapping the SO, and lastly, forcibly confining the SO. There are smaller and less dramatic snaps, like when a yandere is overwhelmed by his emotions and just has a mental breakdown. While these snaps are iconic for yanderes, to us it's not the make it or break it point that defines if they're a yandere or not. A character can be a yandere without doing an extreme snap. For example, yanderes don't need to kill off love rivals in order to prove that they're a yandere to an audience. Instead, it can be shown through creeper actions, which we're going to go over next, and subtle actions combined with the yandere's thought process.
So we do want to say the yandere snaps are fun for stories, but don't make them the flavor of the week. if you're writing a story and every chapter he has a like he or she has a snap every 5 seconds, it gets boring. Let's be real.
Yeah. It's like, oh, why didn't you make like my favorite soup today? Like, snap. Yeah. Why didn't you do the laundry? Snap.
Yeah, it should be more as like a tense buildup or like the breaking point of everything. I wouldn't say climax so much. You could make it as a climax, but you know, it should be more rewarding to the audience instead of what being like, hey, did you iron my clothes? No? Okay, I guess I'm going to kill your dog now. You know, it just doesn't make sense. Okay. Next, we're going to go over creeper actions. Creeper actions are the unsettling or unusual actions a yandere would do to display their love for their SO. So examples of this would be stalking their SO, collecting their things, putting up pictures of their SO on the wall. Lesser known creeper actions would be Facebook stalking, you know, or vocally telling their fantasies about their SO, you know. Unlike the yandere snap, creeper actions are pretty vital in showing that the yandere is, well, a yandere. It's these unnatural displays of love that separates a normal person from someone who is lovesick. As much as we love yanderes, we can't sugarcoat what they do as normal. They have so much love and affection within them that towards their SO, it comes out in strange, unsettling, abnormal, and unhealthy ways. So no. What the hell? Okay. Even. Yeah. My notes. I think I ran. Sorry. This is awkward. It jumped to 20. From 7 to 20.
Ooh, what happened?
We skipped a couple slides.
Yikes.
Really skipped a lot. My backpack, please. Just bring it. Thank you, Father. Here it is.
It's way too expensive.
I hope there's no more fucked ups. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, like,
I'm missing 8 and 9.
How are you missing 8 and 9?
we'll be ending the panel 15 minutes early.
Shit. Well, I lost it. Okay. So, anyways, we're freestyling it.
Woo!
Ooh, fuck it.
Improv.
So yeah, creeper actions, important. They need to be combined with subtle actions, which we'll be getting over next. And if you just, you know, just have yandere snaps, the yandere looks like an actual psychopath instead of a yandere. And if you just have subtle actions, he just looks like a regular Joe, but kind of clean. Anyways, next panel.
I also wanted to add, if you just have the yandere have creeper actions, then he's just going to be like a stalker, you know? That a stalker isn't necessarily a yandere, but a yandere could be a stalker, you know? Same logic. So I'm going to go over yandere actions, the last one, which is subtle actions. Like Kate briefly mentioned, subtle actions is the actions a yandere would do in order to display their genuine love for their SO. For example, when the yandere gently kisses their SO on their forehead, on their cheek, when the yandere comforts the SO, and when the yandere listens to their SO. Now, these actions by itself doesn't, you know, seem like a yandere. It seems like, you know, any character from any character tropes. But it's actually important for yanderes to have subtle actions, because without it, we wouldn't know if the quote-unquote yandere loves their SO or not, you know, because there are some quote-unquote yandere characters who just like are obsessed with the SO because they want to kill him or something. There's no examples of love. So with subtle actions, it shows the examples. Now, I do want to summarize, you know, so that so
Not just me.
I'm also also kind of just running off like 1 hour sleep. So, yeah. Without the subtle actions, the yandere would look more like a psychopath than an actual yandere.
Right, so now getting more into story conflicts. Yay!
Yay!
So yeah, as you can imagine, conflicts are kind of important for stories, plot, you know. Does anyone remember English class where your teacher talks about story structures and the plot diagram? Well, there's a story structure called the 7 types of conflicts. These are core conflicts that you'll see in any story in general. One conflict could be the focus, or it could be several. And if it isn't obvious, these conflicts affect your yandere story. There are 7 conflict types, yet for some reason, these there's only like 4 conflicts that authors like to use. Yandere versus the MC, which is person versus person. Yandere versus rival, person versus person. Yandere versus society, and yandere versus self, which is person versus self.
But it's still very rare.
Yeah, it's pretty rare because, you know, character development kind of hard, apparently. I'm sure that these 4 conflicts are triggering your memory to any random yandere story, that you watch or read.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Person versus person and person versus society are common conflicts for yanderes. Probably because it's easier to just make the yandere a bad guy and or the villain of the story. I guess so. Anyways, person versus self isn't an unknown conflict for yandere stories, but it's not really common. It's usually for redeem or enlightened yanderes. You know.
There's a visual novel that is Yandere versus Self. Crimson Gray Dusk and Dawn. Dusk and Dawn. What?
What was it again?
Crimson Gray Dusk and Dawn is a sequel to another visual novel.
Okay. Well, we can't tell you what your plot should be. I can tell you that the common yandere story has it that the yandere is the plot. Okay? They aren't just characters, but the driving force. The typical plot can be boiled down to this. Escape the basement, and the reskins, you know, like, oh no, I'm trapped in their castle. Oh no, I'm trapped in their house. Oh no, I'm trapped in their apartment. Now you have to escape. Relationship goes sour. Usually MC and the yandere's best friends in a relationship. Suddenly the MC goes like, oh no, they're bad. I gotta get away now. The stalker, you know, the yandere is just some stalker following after them, and the MC has to fight them off because apparently the police are useless as fuck, you know. And then the clash of wills, you know, the typical good versus evil. Usually the yandere is some villain, the protagonist is, you know, the protagonist, the hero, and clash of wills. The power play, you know, the yandere is some position power while the MC is at the very bottom. CEO, typical cleric, prince, peasant. I don't know, what do normally happen for female yanderes? Superpowered woman and normal guy got isekai'd.
The harem genre.
Yeah. They aren't bad per se, but these are cliches with predictable endings. Either the yandere wins with the SO trapped, dead, or mind broken, or the SO wins with the yandere dead, in jail, or the cryptic, ooh, they're still out there, oh no, they might come back. And I'm just saying, have a plot where the yandere isn't the plot, you know? The plot is like a vehicle, you know? You don't ride a person to get to work, you ride a car. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So next we're gonna talk about yandere characteristics. Yeah. So I'm sure you guys have heard of people categorize yanderes into yandere types. For example, the possessive type, the obsessive type, and the sadistic type, etc., etc. Kay and I don't have every type labeled because some of these types are supposed to be traits all yanderes should have anyways. Like, for example, being possessive and obsessive. So instead, we view them more as a Punnett square. You guys, you know the Punnett square you guys have probably already learned in science class when it comes to hereditary with dominant and recessive traits. So same deal here for yanderes, except we're using the Punnett square in order to show combinations of dominant and recessive traits for that yandere to keep in mind when you're writing them. For example, using selfish and selfless. You may see the selfish personality as the more dominant trait, but when the yandere shows their selfless side, it makes them a more dynamic character. We encourage having multiple traits, both dominant and recessive, in order to not risk creating a static character.
And yeah, so you're not just even stuck with just these ones. You can go really complicated, cute and protective. They're normally, cute and protective, but sometimes behind the scenes, they're pretty selfish and manipulative. So it's something to think about when you're creating a character, with personality. So next, Next. Okay, now we're talking about relationships. Yay!
Yay!
Not the bedroom activities, but
Aw.
Yeah, so yanderes and relationships. Usually we only really see the relationship dynamic between the yandere and the SO. We don't really hear of a yandere and their other relationships outside the SO. So we may hear about the yandere's family or friends, but the relationships aren't really that great. They usually attach to a tragic backstory, such as the yandere being abused by them, or the death of a family member, or the entire family. That scar them for life. Friends of the yandere are normally none or one. Either that yandere is a loner, or has one friend that the yandere really doesn't value. So, as you can see, this is the typical relationship pyramid that's common for yandere stories. It's rather dry and cut straight to the point. We believe authors should explore all facets of a major character. You're risking having a flat or static character if you don't develop this. As we see here, there are two options on how to build your yandere's relationship. They may look the same, but they have different approaches. So, looking at the pyramid first, the pyramid has a top-down reading. So, starting from the SO all the way to strangers. And it's based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The yandere can only focus on one necessity at a time. Obviously, the SO is at the top, and the yandere will only focus on them until the relationship is secured. Whatever that means to the yandere. From there, the yandere moves down, but if any of the top needs, most importantly the SO, the yandere will drop everything to secure the top layer. So let's say, for example, the yandere secured the SO, but something's going on with his family, he concentrates on his family, okay? Next, we have the circle. As for the circle, it's read from inside out. Unlike the pyramid, the yandere values each of these relationships equally. Obviously, the SO isn't the most important, okay? And these relationships support the other. The yandere doesn't drop everything when one relationship is in danger, but tries to fix it while juggling the others. Of course, if the SO is in jeopardy, the yandere would drop everything because the SO is the center of the world.
Now we're moving on to yandere hybrids. So what is a yandere hybrid? A yandere hybrid is a combination trope of a yandere plus a different dure type. For example, a tsundere yandere, a kudere yandere, or an unerde yandere. And an unerde yandere is, I believe, an unere is like a person that's like a yes man. So yes man yandere. Yeah. So a couple things about yandere hybrids. The yandere trait must always be the recessive trait for the character, for the yandere. That is to say, the yandere aspect cannot be the first personality shown to an audience. This is different from, say, a split personality. We don't recommend using the yandere hybrid as a split personality because you're risking the chance of creating a static or flat character. There are two ways to handle a yandere hybrid that isn't a split personality tactic. For example, the mask tactic and the defense mechanism tactic. So, what is the mask tactic? Well, the mask tactic is a tactic where the yandere is a true core personality, but due to reasons, the yandere puts on a mask when interacting with others. While the yandere is acting like a different dure type to the others, the yandere still thinks like a yandere on the inside. This tactic is probably the easiest next to the split personality, where there's obviously two people. Okay, so next is the defense mechanism tactic. The defense mechanism tactic is when a character develops an outward personality to protect their true personality. You see, the outer and inner personality should be intertwined and affecting one another. People act like this in real life when they take on certain characteristics. Depending on who they are with, or when they're alone. You wouldn't consider yourself a completely different person if you act differently between your friends and family. At the same time, you wouldn't consider yourself acting either, unless you're that sort of person. That dure part is very much part of the character, as while the yandere part is a balancing act of the two sides. As you can imagine, this could be considered a difficult tactic to write, but if done well, you can make a complex yandere and something that's very interesting for a reader to read about.
And yeah, we can go on and on and on about yanderes and character development, but
Okay, lost in notes.
No, this is the final bit.
Ooh.
Recovery.
So, yes. But the real make or break of yandere stories are the main character or the yandere's SO. I'll be real. These MCs are dry, real dry and generic, and we don't think. They're really generic. So female MCs, probably the most controversial word is Toru in the corner here, but you gotta admit she is a basic girl. And yeah, they're kind of all the same people at this point, and don't think male characters are safe here. So. Love them or hate them, you gotta admit they're generic. So I can't really tell you how to write your MCs. At the end of the day, all this is subjective, and you're the master of your own stories. Okay, but I can give you some tips on how to break the generic MC mold. First things first, don't make your characters a blank character. Okay, actually. This is mostly an issue with female characters, while male characters are author self-inserts. Typically with blank characters, they don't really have a defining presence behind them besides being nice, okay? These characters are supposed to be you, the audience. That girl being wooed by a bunch of hot guys could be you.
Ooh.
If you buy our merchandise. But the thing is, the problem with blank characters is that they can never be you. Here's a character who's supposed to be everyone, but I'm not you, and you're not your neighbors, okay? So doesn't that make blank characters no one? How are they relatable at that point if you're not them? Blank characters can only be really done well in interactive fiction, so video games, visual novels, things like that, since you're literally making the character, okay? Male characters are no better. They have their share of blank characters or, being self-inserts. But in theory, an author self-insert isn't too bad simply because the author has a personality, I would hope. Please have personality. It becomes an issue when it becomes a glaring power fantasy or a Mary Sue. And side note about Mary Sues, we don't really mind Mary Sues, and I don't shame new writers for doing them. We all start somewhere, okay? Also, we don't hate Mary Sues for being perfect or OP. I mean, look at One Punch Man or the isekai genre in general. We hate them when they break the logic of the story universe because they're a huge road bump in the story. Anyway, that's for the tangent on Mary Sue's. And this might seem debatable, but nice isn't a personality. And if it was, it's a boring trait for a character to only have and nothing else. Characters, mostly blank ones, tend to be only nice since it's easier to identify with, and most people like to think that they're nice. Nice is more of an alignment and moral compass. You can be considered a jackass, but be considered nice because of your actions. So you might call like a girl a bitch, but at the end of the day, if you save her, you're probably not that bad of a dude. Okay. So, next is more of a female character issue. Apparently, there's only 2 types of women: the Virgin Mary or Lilith. Virgin Mary characters tend to be the gentle, motherly woman. Okay, they're typically the nice or innocent type. And by the way, is it just me who thinks a yandere has an infant kink when they go on a tangent about the SO being pure or innocent? Like, the way they describe them sometimes sounds like an infant or like a child. It's kind of weird. The Lilith type is probably a reaction to the common Virgin Mary character. The characters are the bad bitches of the world here, but really they're only a bad bitch because they bitch too much. Okay. To be honest, they're like the Virgin Mary, but even worse because they make bad life decisions. They can be overly promiscuous, an awful person, or the edgy type. That being said, make more morally gray and evil MCs. Okay, morally gray is pretty straightforward, yet it seems hard to do for some reason. As for evil, this is different from Lilith. Lilith tends to do bad life choices, then expect you to pity her. I don't know about you guys, but I have a hard time pitying someone who would do crack and then wonder why their life is going wrong. Okay. Next is, this just might be us, but most MCs tend to be feeling types on the MBTI chart. Just raw emotions and the power of friendship. Okay. But does high EQ equal low IQ? I don't know, but apparently that's what most authors like to do. Do emotions immediately mean that you're unable to use common sense? And why is it that MCs are the densest motherfuckers on the planet? Okay. If they are running on their emotions, okay, and they understand emotions the best, why can't they pick up the signs? Why do they not understand their own emotions? Weird. As on the opposite side, characters that run on logic can't comprehend emotions. What the fuck? There's only 2 extremes here. Don't choose one over the other. An emotional person can use their brain, and a logical person can comprehend emotions. Don't stereotype. And finally, make the MC interested in the yandere. And no, not as in the, ooh, this person's kind of hot. Oh wait, they're crazy. Got a blast. I mean, genuine interest, and don't run at the first sight of crazy. There are too many stories where it's yandere versus the MC. At this point, what's the point in adding the romance tag? Especially when the emotions are one-sided. I'm just suggesting a dynamic where the MC isn't yelling, "You psycho," every 5 minutes. And so, yeah, we have a quiz. Our assistant will give you our business card.
Huh?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Do you guys have any?
Do you see examples of yandere characters outside of anime, or do you think it's something that's unique to the genre?
Or what are you asking exactly?
Male, female, or both?
Both, either.
But what do you mean, like?
Well, do you think yandere characters are a thing that's solely found inside anime and stories based around like anime convention, like anime conventions?
Oh, hell no. So obviously, like in American shows and things like that. Okay. They don't really. Obviously, they don't call them yanderes. They just call them straight up psychopaths. yandere is a term very, refined to only anime conventions and like anime in general. Though it does expand to Asian media such as Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. Sometimes also like even more Asian, like Thai, Vietnamese. So it's more of an Asian word, but it is universal as the trope itself. And you in the green suit.
Yes, sir. I know you would not have to title yandere, but the best example that would fit under this yandere would be any Wilkes misery. Sorry,
Oh. Misery.
Yeah. I mean, she literally fits the bill perfectly. Like she goes from like, oh, you're a fan, nice and everything, but then she realized that she's the guy that's writing the book. And then like you go from not helping him, capturing him, and holding him, to hobbling his legs with his sledgehammer.
Okay, so funny enough, we did have a person, from our blog asked us if Annie from Misery was a yandere. And remember what we said in the beginning about how yanderes must be lovesick. So, the thing about Annie is she we analyzed why she would like the MC, She likes him because she was a fan of his work. But, being a fangirl doesn't necessarily mean that you love, the person for who they are. You just love their work.
She was more upset about he killed off her favorite character, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of.
So younger, right?
We kind of the yandere needs to like the person, not the work they make. That being said, for an American show or something that has a yandere, we recommend You from
Netflix?
No, was it Netflix? Well, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
So yeah, this is a male yandere. Yandere is named Joe. Yeah, basic ass name. Yes.
Oh God, what is it? Killing stalking, would that be a good?
We made an entire video
No. Do you want to watch the?
No.
It's 18 plus. We're all good. Let's do it.
Don't watch your own video on your own panel.
So fair warning, none of us are animators, so the video's kind of shit. But we hope it's entertaining at least.
Which of those two characters would be considered yanderes, or would they both be considered?
For killing stalking.
Yeah.
I think we said neither. we said neither.
Guy.
Yeah, we did a parody video about it because so many people were asking.
Yeah, we made a parody video.
Do you not have it saved on your computer?
That Yandere critic on YouTube.
It's on your.
We have 2 videos where we actually animated our review. The second one is much better. We actually got software. The other one is at 240p. Okay.
Oh God.
Yeah, I can't pull up the video, but
Don't you have it saved on your
our
laptop?
friend here
Huh?
voicing what's the psychopath's name?
Which one?
Young-soo?
The buff one.
The blonde one.
What was his name?
Song-woo.
Yeah, Song-woo.
Took us a week to do that, so please watch it.
And the other one's called Young Bone.
It actually loaded.
Oh.
I like how she has a playlist for her own OC.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
Do you guys have the password?
No, nobody's.
I like how she has to use her own phone. The struggle is so real.
Connect your phone to the PowerPoint?
That's what I'm doing.
Wow, modern day technology. Does she not have the file saved on her laptop?
This is so sad. Alexa, play Super Psycho.
Miramont Conference?
Nope.
Click there.
The thing is, I need an internet access code thing, which I do not have.
Rip.
Yeah. So we only only have 5 minutes, so if you guys want to watch it, we are called That Yandere Critic on YouTube.
Do more questions.
We also have it on our blog if you want to look for it. So, yeah.
Do more questions.
Any
Other questions?
Yeah.
You?
So, you brought up Yanderes a lot in relation to the main character, with the implication that the main character is a significant other. But you stand by and empower the Yandere being very much the main character.
Not necessarily. I mean, it would be nice. Most of the time, Yandere characters tend to be Ken fathers. You know, like just there to push the main couple forward, or you know, the villain that you know is like against the MC. So we're kind of like combating the common here. So yeah, we are kind of implying for them to be either the secondary character, a main character, or you know, someone at least important to the story. Final question.
Yes?
So would Esther from like Asane Got Kill, would that be an example of like a female Yandere?
Wait, who?
Esther
From Kill la Kill?
Kill la Kill.
A
Akame
common
got killed.
I feel like we actually talked about her on our blog, but I can't remember because we only looked at Wiki. We never watched the anime.
Is she in love with a character?
Yeah, she's the guy in the evil.
Tell us more about her.
She is the evil general that leads like the Empire's military, and when she sees the main character, she immediately falls in love with him, and to the point of going off road.
So it's like an insta-love situation.
So technically, we kind of do take points off from Insta Love because it's
You don't believe
Logan.
in the first sight?
no. Okay, so it doesn't stop them from being a Yandere. It just kind of like
A weak reason.
yeah.
Because you're basically essentially, like, imagine like a scenario where like you drop something, you know, like somebody drops something and you pick it up for them. And you're like, oh, you know, here's your spoon, and like the person like immediately falls in love with you. Like, why? You know?
You were nice to them.
It sounds like Yandere Simulator.
Yandere similar kind of high-key sucks.
Tell us more!
Tell us more about
Yeah.
why
Let's have
Yandere
this
similar.
discourse.
Well, I mean, it's not done yet, so yeah.
It will
It
never
will
be
never
done.
be done. Let's be
It
real.
will never be done. He's living off that fun.
That's a shame. I kind of liked it.
Wait, like, we don't stand Yandere, Dev, but what's the problem with Yandere Simulator?
It's a buggy mess. It's like my computer is actually like a gaming laptop and kind of runs at like shit speed. I could probably play like Minecraft at higher resolution than Yandere Simulator.
His game is just kind of like it's the coding. It's the coding work. He actually had like professional, you know, professional coders like reject him, like stop working with him because they're like, yo, your code's kind of fucked.
And also like story wise,
Yeah.
it fucking sucks, bro. Like he's like huffing like fumes or something. Every time I watch his video, he always like re-edits something. You know, like it's a work in progress, I guess, but like it has more holes than like Swiss cheese. I could like drop something on a newspaper and it'll probably be his story. You know, for a Yandere Simulator.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Crimson Gray?
Crimson Gray, I want to, but I'm kind of like, I'm not interested in girls, so I'm gonna lose my interest. You know what I mean?
Right. Also, do you read Stalker X Stalker?
Soccer, yeah.
I love
follow the
that
guy.
one.
I follow the guy on Tumblr.
I actually want to cosplay as Yukio one day.
They're so cute. I hate them.
Also,
We need to get down.